We're headed back to the future with today's forecast as the weather is set to take a significant turn for the worse. Many hazards are back on the table, and I'll show you what, where, and when. Plus, we'll take a look at your bumpy Easter weekend weather forecast, test your weather IQ, and take a look at auroras and much more right here. So don't go anywhere. A new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. Well, it's hump day and it's midway through April as well. It is hard to believe that the year has flown by as fast as it has, but anyway, I hope you are having a good week so far. Thank you for joining me today. You are here for another edition of Cold Rain's Weather World, the fastest growing new weather show on the internet. And it's the only show that leaves you feeling good, more confident, and even smarter than when you joined. So I'll show you why that is in a minute, but thank you for joining. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It'll help us grow. Also give it content a like and just hit that little thumbs up button down below if you can. I'll have all of the chapters of what we talk about today listed in the description, and so you can skip right ahead if you need to get to where you something that's of more interest to you than others. You can go right to it and leave a comment in the comment section. If there's something I can pray over for you, I'm happy to do that. I want to walk alongside of you and build you up if there's something that's going on there. So it's the kind of community you want to have here. And leave a comment about the show, a question, suggestion, anything like that, to whatever you feel led to say. But that's enough of that. Anyway, we've got a lot to cover today. We've got hazards galore, and we're going to get into those. But as I promised, I want to leave you a little bit smarter. So we're going to test your weather IQ right off the bat with today's weather IQ question. How much do you know about weather measuring devices? Well, we're going to see. So here's the question. What does a hygrometer measure? Wind speed, humidity, air pressure, or cloud cover? If you know the answer, as always, type it in the comment section. If you don't know it, just wait till the end of the show, and I will tell you exactly what the answer is. And we're going to start with our quick weather roundup, as we always do. Take a look at what's going on out there. If we want to know what's happening later, we need to know what's going on right now. And so what's going on right now is a little bit of cloud cover up here in New England, with a storm system spinning up in Canada, bringing the last vestiges of that energy through New England this morning, seeing a little bit of snow in New York. We've got additional cloud cover taking shape out here in the west as a trough is developing and is going to move into the west. This little storm system, this swirl that you see off the southwest coast, is going to play a role in creating a severe weather event, a multi-day severe weather event for portions of the plains and the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys over the next few days, and we're going to get into all of that. So clouds associated with that developing trough out here over the Rockies. Some areas are actually under a winter storm warning for snow. As far as the radar goes, not a lot going on, just some showers, some snow showers, and mixed precipitation, mostly rain though, across the Canadian-US border. Looking at snow kind of winding down up here in New England. We've got some light snow in central and western New York. I saw some reports this morning. Temperatures right around freezing, maybe a little bit north of freezing, so we're not expecting a lot of accumulation there, maybe an inch or two. Some slick spots on the road, so if you're driving around up there, be very careful. Our weather hazards map for today by the National Weather Service shows a couple of areas of interest. We've got a big area of windy conditions down here in the desert southwest into the southern plains, where we could see winds gusting into the 30s and 40s over the next couple of days. It's going to get even windier out here as that system moves in and we start to get a little upper level energy and mixing as well. And so we could see gusts in the 60s, potentially tomorrow. So be careful. Red flag warnings out here. Dry, it's warm, do not burn anything. That's some air quality issues where they're burning. They've got a controlled burn going on here in eastern Nebraska, and then some smoke with that. It's going to make for some unhealthy air quality. And then, as I said, we've got winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings up for portions of the Bighorns and the Rockies, where you could see in some of the higher peaks up to as much as 18 inches of snow. So watch out here. Frost warnings, rather. Frost advisories up and down in the Piedmont sections the mid-Atlantic down into the upper southeast into North Carolina for overnight tonight. We could see some scattered frost with cool temperatures working in behind that system that has moved out. Now here is your hazards map for the next 3 to 7 days. So this is day 3 to 7, I should say. And this is kind of looking a little bit messy here, but the big takeaway is that we've got severe weather back into the picture where you see these gold boxes on different days. It kind of shows you that. Heavy rain threat is back into the picture as well. We've already got some flooding concerns for some of the rivers that are still running high, and we get a bunch of heavy rain in here that's going to exacerbate that in a lot of areas. Heavy snow out here in the Colorado Rockies, and some high winds to take a look at that we talked about that earlier. But this is what's going on over the next week. So pay attention if you live particularly in the areas in the mid and lower Mississippi River Valley into the mid and lower plains too. So got a lot going on there. We're going to get right into the severe weather threat. So this afternoon, the SPC is highlighted area from North Texas all the way up into southwestern Iowa for a marginal risk. This is really centered around Kansas and into Missouri as we go through the nighttime hours tonight. We've got a little bit of a cap in the upper levels of the atmosphere, some wind energy working in aloft that could set the stage for a few hail reports predominantly. If we look here at our probabilistic segments here, wind and hail are kind of the main threat. Not a very big chance, but some storms could spin up. We could get a couple of rotating storms that drop some hail. Tomorrow is the bigger threat, and this is up here in Iowa. Pretty much all of Iowa is under a slight risk that extends back into Nebraska. So we're looking at Norfolk and Grand Island, places like that. Northern Missouri and the slight risk, and surrounding that is a marginal risk for a very small tornado threat. It's not out of the question to see a tornado or two, but it's not favorable for a big tornado event. Wind and hail. Hail's the primary threat. We've got freezing levels situated in the atmosphere that are going to help hail production be more efficient. And so in this hatched area, you could see hail in 2 inches or greater in diameter. And again, this is for tomorrow, Thursday. That's when really we start to see wind energy in the atmosphere, and we can actually take a look at that in just a second as well. Friday, your severe weather threat extends over a much greater area. Maybe the northern half of this gets an upgrade to enhanced. We'll have to see how things kind of come together. There's going to be a capping in the atmosphere that might limit severe weather development a little bit farther south till later on in the day, Friday into Friday night. So watch radar trends throughout the day on Friday in these areas. But again, we're looking at generally a 15% risk of tornadoes, hail, high winds, all of the above. This is not a major severe weather outbreak. None of this looks to be that way as we go into the weekend, although there will be rounds of severe weather, and some areas are going to see some high winds, and hail are going to be really the primary threats. So what's driving all of that? As I said, we've kind of got a trough developing in the east. We've got our northern branch of the jet stream, and we looked at this yesterday, kind of working in like this, and we've got our southern branch as well. There's some energy in both branches, and that is going to set the stage for troughing in the west and ridging in the east. This is the mid-levels of the atmosphere, about 3.5 miles up off the ground. And you can't see this because I'm not on the right display, but there we are, northern branch, southern branch. And you see these little enhanced areas of color. This is wind. What I'm showing you is the wind in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And as these areas of wind kind of move through, we're starting here at 12 a.m. tomorrow morning. You can see these areas of wind kind of move into the in concert with each other. As the mid-level flow increases, two things happen. You get moisture transport up out of a moisture source like the Gulf of Cold Rain, for example, and you get lift, kind of a broad area of lift out ahead of these things. And so as you get moisture transport, that's fuel for thunderstorms, and you get lift, you have a mechanism to create those thunderstorms. And so as these little waves of energy move along in the mid-level flow, they're going to, over the next few days, continue to create areas of lift. And as the colors get a little deeper through the period, this is late evening Thursday, and then we go into overnight Thursday into early Friday morning, you see how these colors get a little bit deeper. That's stronger flow, so stronger winds up there, and that's going to continue to enhance the severe threat. That's why as we get into Friday and Friday afternoon, you start to see a greater area of severe threat. Out ahead of these winds, you start to see your severe threat take shape from Texas all the way up into Illinois. So places like, Wichita Falls, just maybe west of Dallas, up through Springfield, up through Chicago. We're looking at a potential severe weather threat on Friday because you've got strong mid-level flow, you've got good moisture return. We're starting to see those dew points creep up, and that leads to the production of showers and thunderstorms. And some of those could definitely be severe. Looking here Wednesday night into Thursday morning, in that marginal risk area, we're already seeing some storms here break out over Kansas and move into Missouri. This is Thursday morning now. We get into 8 a.m. Thursday morning, maybe 7 a.m. Central Time. You see a little cluster of storms moving through. So not looking at a big widespread event here, just maybe some isolated hail and wind reports. And then we go on through the day. Thursday afternoon, we start to see more thunderstorms develop up here in northern areas, Minnesota, into Iowa. We get into Thursday evening, and this is where our severe threat is focused, and you start to see those thunderstorms develop. So a little bit of rotating updrafts can lead to larger hail production and some wind reports, maybe even a tornado or two. But we're not seeing the low-level winds back in a certain way that would be favorable for a big tornado outbreak. So we're not really looking at that. And that goes on through the evening on Thursday. It takes us into Friday morning. Kind of things die down a little bit as the heating of the day wanes and nocturnal cooling takes over. So that's what we're looking at there in terms of getting us through the end of Thursday. And then if we go on into Friday, so Friday morning, look what happens Friday afternoon. We start to see really these thunderstorms start to take shape here over Texas late in the day. We get on into Friday evening. Now we've got a big cluster of storms developing over Oklahoma into Missouri. So, Kansas City up to St. Louis, up into starting to work into Illinois by the end of the day, and that continues over Friday night. And so you see this big area here that the SPC had highlighted. We're seeing a lot of activity kind of develop all the way back from Abilene, Texas, up here into near Madison, Wisconsin. So you've got this big area of thunderstorm activity, and some of those storms are going to be severe, especially as they begin to organize into clusters and line segments. And so that takes us pretty much through Saturday morning. That activity will persist. It won't quite die off as much because we'll still have some warm air and some instability. Even though nocturnal cooling takes over, we're still going to have plenty of instability around. So that is your end of the week severe threat. We're going to take a look at Easter weekend because it's going to be a bumpy ride for some. And we're going to look at the heavy rain threat as well. But before we do that, I wanted to give you a quick little this day in weather history. You may know this, you may not. You probably don't know this if you don't live in New England. But if you live in New England, you may have heard of the 1851 lighthouse storm near Boston Harbor. So on April the 16th, 1851, the lighthouse storm raged near Boston Harbor. Gales and gigantic waves destroyed the Minot Light with its two keepers still inside. They were killed, unfortunately, and the storm resulted in significant shipping losses and coastal erosion. The lighthouse storm of 1851. So now we'll take a quick look at the weekend and see what it holds, because some areas are going to be sunny and have a nice Easter weekend, and others are going to be rainy and stormy. And so we're going to take a look at who's going to see what. We've also got a geomagnetic storm that appears to be a little stronger than it did a day or so ago, pushing potentially Auroras farther south. We'll take a look at that too. But first, look at the severe weather threat for Saturday. Big corridor here, from essentially from Pittsburgh down to Dallas, all the way back into southeast or southwest Texas, rather. And so another corridor. This hasn't moved very much on the lower end of this, but the northern end has sort of pushed over to the south and east a bit. And if we look into Sunday, southern end of that sort of pushes through, and we have plenty of instability, plenty of wind shear aloft to continue to see severe weather possible through eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, Shreveport, up through Little Rock, up into the Boot Hill of Missouri, down here into the southern areas of Illinois. So pay attention if you live in these areas on Sunday for severe weather. And along with that severe weather, we're going to see a heavy rain threat too. So again, taking a look at our winds, this is Saturday morning. We're starting out with this Friday evening, rather. And so watch these winds. Look at this trough in the west. You see this has been sort of sitting here, this big trough in the west. I'm going to draw it so we can see kind of how it positions itself as we go through time. So here's our general trough. Dry line, cold front is, back in here along this area. And so watch what happens as we kind of roll this forward. This is Saturday overnight, Friday into Saturday morning. That trough kind of migrates slowly, slowly. So by the time Saturday evening gets here, we still got this trough generally in the same place. The winds have shifted off up here, our jet streak, but we still have plenty of jet energy, and we've got this low level, or this upper level cyclone out here, this upper level low, and that's going to continue to strengthen a little bit, maybe even take on a bit of a negative tilt. You see how it's kind of here. I want to erase this trough now that we're seeing some movement here. But look at this. See, it's kind of almost taking on a little bit of a negative tilt. Remember, negative is northwest to southeast, and it allows for really good return flow here. So this area here is concerning as we get into Sunday. This is Sunday afternoon, and we going into Sunday evening. Look at this. Really nice negative tilt low, drawing up moisture, turning the winds with height, and we've got a nice little jet streak here. We might even see this upgraded as we get into the weekend. It would not surprise me given the orientation of this trough, but pay attention, particularly on Sunday, in the lower Mississippi Valley, eastern lower plains, in the Ozarks and areas like that. The one mitigating factor may be that there's early morning convection. And so if that happens, that could overturn the atmosphere a little bit. But that's a kind of a concerning look. And so I would pay attention to that as we get into the weekend. And looking kind of as we go into Friday evening, we're seeing those storms Friday evening into Saturday morning, ongoing Saturday afternoon. We're still seeing those storms. They're kind of training over the same areas. That leads me to believe that there could be a flood threat. And I think that'll be the case, actually, as we get on into the weekend. Saturday afternoon, plenty of storms in Texas up through Missouri. And then as we get on into Sunday, storms begin to fire, and you see a big squall line of storms breaking out from Texas up through Little Rock up into just east of Kansas City. And that will push off to the east as we go through the evening Sunday, and then we get into Monday and so forth. And there's a little bit of uncertainty around the severe weather threat for later on in the week. So we're not too clear about how that's going to evolve, but my suspicion is we'll start to see slight risks work into the picture as we get on out in time. Our flooding threat, our excessive rainfall threat, slight risk over here between Oklahoma, Missouri, northwest Arkansas, southeast Kansas here on day 3. That is Friday. That area expands significantly on Saturday, so we've got a slight risk that's expanded, a marginal risk that's expanded as well, and then a marginal risk on Sunday. So lots of potential for heavy rain in through the Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri areas. Look at our precipitable water. This kind of shows us where the moisture content is going to be flowing as we go through the end of the week into the weekend. This is Friday evening. Look at this axis of heavier moisture. See how this kind of sets up. I'm going to draw this line here through the axis of heavier moisture. Now watch what happens as we go forward from Friday into Saturday. That axis sort of sits in the same place. You see that? That is concerning because this is where the highest moisture content is in the atmosphere, and we've got a front that's moving through that will eventually push off to the east, and so the threat will be over by the time we work into Monday. But through the end of the week into the weekend, you really need to be watching out if you're in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, again, in that kind of pink area that I drew. So pay attention there. Watch out for flooding. Be alert if a flood warning is issued for your area. Know what to do and where to go. Okay. And so looking at the total precipitation, we just roll this on out through the weekend, and we get into Monday and Tuesday. We still have some activity going on, but you can see these red colors. We're over 2 inches of rain, and the dark reds, which is centered over Missouri and into Illinois, back into the northeastern sections of Oklahoma, we're seeing about 3 to as much as 5 inches of rain in here. So really, really need to be careful in these areas. Pay attention as you go through the weekend, looking at how all this plays out at the surface. Showers and thunderstorms moving through the area on Friday and Saturday. We see exactly what we saw before. This little low pressure now is taking shape. The surface low associated with that negative tilted upper low that I showed you before is taking shape, and it's going to help back some of the wind. So we could see an enhanced tornado threat as we get into Sunday. This is Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. That low tracks straight up to the Great Lakes. Trailing cold front brings showers and thunderstorms to parts of the southeast. And then we continue to remain in an active pattern. This is next week, mid next week, Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. You can see activity continues to persist, and we see activity after, storm after storm moving into the West Coast once again. Temperature forecast, we need to know what our temperatures are going to do. So this afternoon, going to be colder than normal in the east, warmer than normal in the west. We're talking about 10 to 15 degrees below and 10 to 15 degrees above at these higher shaded colors here. That works on in as we get into Thursday evening, afternoon. We're starting to warm back up in the east as we get into Friday. We're going to be near normal right along the coast. Cold air behind this big system that's winding up in the west, pushing in warm air along the east and basically the eastern half of the country. That's going to hang on. That pattern is going to persist. That trough that we saw out here is going to stay in place. It's eventually going to slowly move east, but we're going to keep temperatures below normal as we get through the weekend in the west. It's going to be going above normal, except for the northeast as we get into the through the weekend in the east. So much of the east, especially the southeast, is going to see a very nice warm Easter weekend. Southwest is going to be nice and warm too, and a little chillier up in the northwest as well. So we push this on out toward mid next week. Warm across the south, a little chillier across the north. Not too different from where we probably should be this time of year. And then looking at what let's go back to our other display here, and we can see the 6 to 10 day forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. Our above anomalies are in the east and centered across the southeast, below normal up north, particularly the northwest. Precipitation much above normal as we expect, given what we just saw in the center of the country and near normal along the coasts, below normal out west. And that sort of wraps up the weather portion of the show. The last couple things just to hit on: volcanoes, nothing different from what we saw the other day. Kilauea and Sitkan are the only active volcanoes in the picture. We did have an earthquake in the southeast Indian Ridge at 6.6 at 10 kilometers below the surface, way south in the ocean. So nothing, it didn't affect anybody, and that's good. But the geomagnetic storm that we've been looking at is hitting Earth today, and it is upgraded to a G3, a level 3. And so that's going to push aurora viewing a little farther south. So if you're along a line from, say, Seattle, up here just to encompassing most of South Dakota, most of Minnesota, north of the Illinois border into Madison, Wisconsin, up to the northern parts of New York into northern Maine, you have a chance of seeing the aurora tonight if the clouds are not hindering your view. So pay attention if you're up there. You get a good look at the northern lights. Those are pretty and fun to see. I've never seen those, but some of my friends have. From last year, I didn't see it. It was cloudy. Couldn't see it. So anyway, that brings us to the answer to today's Weather IQ. I hope you got it right. This is one that is a little tricky. You may not know this one. So what does a hygrometer measure? Wind speed, humidity, air pressure, cloud cover. So the answer is, if you didn't know it, B, humidity. So a hygrometer measures humidity. Wind speed, of course, is measured by an anemometer, that thing with the little cups on it that spins around. Air pressure is a barometer. You probably knew that. And cloud cover is one you may not know as well. I should save this, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. A ceilometer, okay? That measures the height of the cloud base and the overall cloud thickness. You can just use your eyes too and estimate it if you want to, or go to a weather site. But if you've got a ceilometer, you can measure it yourself. And that, my friends, is the end of our show. Parting is such sweet sorrow, but it's been fun. I'm glad you're here. I hope you had a good time. And now you know the weather. And of course, if other stations run 24/7, we right here at Cold Rain's Weather World have you covered 48/14. So have a wonderful day, folks. Make it a great day, and we'll see you back tomorrow.